So I think we're live. So hey all, welcome to the 11th episode of the Allaboutfpl podcast or stream. I'm Aditya and I'm joined by my two wonderful panelists Suresh and Sankalp. Well, things have taken a turn over the last 2 weeks, right? All of a sudden, Wildcard is looking more likely with the fixture postponements here and there. So Wildcard is 8 versus Wildcard 9 is one of the key talking points, and even Wildcard 13 also because of the Arsenal City game being postponed for Arsenal's game against Eindhoven to be played somewhere around that time. So that's something that is a huge thing. And so one more thing added to our headache. And these are going to be our talking points as this is going to be a stream that is solely dedicated to wildcard and the players around it. Who shall we go around? So we'll talk about the wildcard, game week 8, the pros and cons, looking at the fixture ticker until the World Cup. Then we'll talk about the players to pick, the obvious ones, the differentials, and ending with our bus teams. And if me and Suresh might end up with wildcarding, so we'll see what will happen over the next 24 hours.
No, this
So,
this conversation is going to be really important. I'm almost on a cat on a wall situation. Let's see how this goes.
yeah.
I feel so good as a non-wild carder because I don't have that tension, but still I feel a bit nervous that I'm not a wild carder.
Yeah. So the names that are displayed on the screen are the current transfer trends for the amount of players we got in the numbers. Obviously, the entire list here is the wildcard train going on with Nick Pope, Trippier, Perisic, KDB, Bowen, Madison, Mitrovic, Isaac, and Kane. All of them are being the hot most gotten players. And likewise, if you look at the other side, that's the players being shipped out. That's Sanchez, obviously from Brighton, as they have a blank this week. Potter also leaving. People are less and less, getting, they're not having enough faith in Brighton all of a sudden now. Trent and I think the triple Liverpool is out at the moment. Trent, Salah days, obviously with a blank, not a great start of the season. Inconsistent performance is probably is going on the case there. Gross, the same reason with Sanchez. Gabriel Jesus, same thing. People are going to try out different players and Ivan Tony. So these are probably one of the key transfer out so far. So
We have 64K Ivan Tony transfers, which I don't understand.
I seriously, I was just looking at. I'm even more surprised for Gabriel Jesus as well.
Correct, correct, correct.
the,
Maybe these are the guys who hit that transfer early and don't have a wild card like me.
Yeah, yeah. Could be.
So we'll move on to the next segment very quickly. That's the biggest talking point, obviously going around, floating around over the last few days. Should we wildcard now or post the international break? That is what we look at for now. Game week 13 is something separate. We'll just discuss it briefly here and there. So, Sankalp, can you take us through this particular segment?
Sure. So basically, what are the pros of doing hitting it now? You both are on the verge of hitting that wild card. So what is the pro? For me, the pro is we now know that there are a lot of blank fixtures this week. When you're making a wild card, at least you can transition. You don't have to take any hits. For example, a player like a manager like me, I have to take a -4 just to get 10 players in, right? And I'm feeling good that I have 10 players. Uh, but looking at your teams, right, I'm sure you would easily manage 11 players, right, and 11 good players, and keep the blank guys, but good blank guys on the bench, right? So that's a huge pro. The other pro is lot of the teams were on that, big at the back or big at the medium model. Most of the people had two forward options, and the last option was Archer. So now people can upgrade it, right? You can attack Mitrovic, Kane, Isak, and all three people have good fixtures this week. That is a huge pro for me, right? And target Newcastle and West Ham, right? So you see people getting in Isaac, you see people getting in Bowen, right? This is primarily because their fixtures are good this week, right? What's the con? Con is we saw, a lot of people are transferring out Jesus, but he has a match to play, and Arsenal are still, a good team with a good, interior metrics, right? So they might still do well, and that will really hurt, any wild card, right? That's a huge pro. Second is zoned into avoiding blank fixes, right? Your team obviously can have only three players from your non-blank teams, right? Or from a blank teams, right? And that is a problem because you have a lot of good teams or a lot of good options coming over the next 2 3 weeks. Ideally, when I wildcard, always like to look at the next 5 fixtures, 6 fixtures, and have a long-term view. I don't think that you guys will be able to do because it can be a max of three, right? You cannot play with 10 players on a wildcard. And international break, right? It's a tradition that most of the FPL managers follow. You like to do it only post the international break. Not this time, right? Game week 9, what are the pros? You have that IB, things sorted. You know which player played well, where, how many minutes he played, where did he travel, and you take your, conscious decisions accordingly. Apart from that, obviously, like we're discussing in the last game week, right? A lot of the managers' news, right? Be it Gerard, be it Brendan Rodgers, right? And a new Brighton manager. All these news will be coming post this international break, and that might give you a good clue on which are the teams to target, right? And there's a slight transition, like we're talking about, teams like Leicester, Crystal Palace, who have a blank week this time in game week 8, they move out in game week 9. They have good teams there, and you can actually target it, right? And cons are similar to that of game week 8. You have to time out. You have to move out of your Arsenal and Spurs assets, but they have a good fixtures. They have a fixture where they are playing each other, and it can be a high scoring week, right? Uh, you have to take hits to play this week out. Ideally, most managers will take a -4, even though they are wildcarding next week. And then you have only 4 weeks to attack the differences. And why 4 weeks? We'll get down to it in the coming fixtures. Why it's only 9 to 12 that we are looking at is something that we'll see in the next slide. So anything from you guys, because both of you are into that mode.
Yeah, for me, it is like I'm with two free transfers. I will most likely, probably 70-30%, I would say. I'm still on the, verge of wildcarding next week rather than this week. But for me, the concern is the number of players that I would have. Though, we can, for the sake of count, I can say I might field 11 players, two free transfers with a hit. But at what cost? I'm going to take a -4. I might have the likes of, Danny Ward, Nico Williams, Andres Pereira. Probably, yeah, he could come out with something. But the other two, you can hardly rely on them, in terms of getting any sort of points out of this game week. That's one of the downsides, using the free transfers and, going with a hit or something. Same if you shift focus to using the wild card next week, in terms of the international break that you told about, injuries and
Yeah.
rotations and availability, that's a very key thing that I feel. This is going to be the last international break before, World Cup begins. So most of the national teams want to have their most important players engaged in some form or the other, having a couple of games, minutes shared across some of the key players internationally, as well as, some of the players that do take a part in our FPL teams would be involved. So that's a
Yeah.
key risk always moving into international break, and having that cushion of either two free transfers or having something like a wild card makes sense. So I know we can make a case for both, but I'm still
Yeah.
leaning towards wildcarding into game week 9. But let's see if that transitions, changes my mind by the end of this pod. Aditya?
Where are you, Aditya?
Yeah, so I have triple Liverpool. So the straight thought that comes to me is take a -4, ship them out, get in the big players. Obviously, for Salah, you're going to get KDB. For Diaz, you will get someone like Bowen, Madison, somebody in that range. And then if you remote Trent, you can go for Trippier. So I can get those three players. More or less, I will have Martinelli, Erling Haaland here and there. I may just miss out on those more talked about players like Mitrovic, Nick Pope, and all. But I think I can kind of survive this week with 10 players and with a -4, and then maybe look at game week 9. So I think it is more or less squad dependent based on how many players you have this week, and with a -4 or a -8, if you're able to field 10 to 11 players, I think you get away. And then maybe next week again rethink on Salah and the Liverpool assets if you want them back now or plan it accordingly. So again, it weighs in both the ways. So I'm more or less on the Game Week 9 wildcard also.
Perfect. So sounds good. Now let's get into the fixtures and look at things a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a fixture ticker that we have from game week 8 to game week 16, right? What I've also done is we have created a swing, fixture swing where we have put down the rank of teams, right? So you see game week 8 to 12, Fulham has a rank of game, 1, right? So it has the best fixtures from game week 8 to 12. And uh, correspondingly, you see Liverpool with a game week rank of 20, right? So they're the last team when it comes to game week 8 to 12, and this obviously includes the fact that there are blanks as well, right? So that further takes out the advantage, right? And game week 13 to 16, right, we have a different set of fixtures, right? So looking purely as a fixture ticker, you will see Everton, Newcastle, Fulham, Bournemouth, Leicester, right? These are your top 5 teams, right? And that's where you see a lot of people moving on into these transfers, going for Patterson, for the likes of Pope and Trippier, and even Isaac, triple Newcastle. And we have some Leicester, Madison, West Ham also, Bowen, kind of transfers coming in. And this is purely looking into a fixture from game week 8 to 16, or long term view, right? But the problem here is the fixture swing, right? And you see the teams that you want to target, for example, Fulham, right? It has exceptional fixtures from 8 to 12, but it changes drastically from 1 to 15, right? Now, ideally, you would be like, okay, it's okay. I will always move out, right? Within 4 weeks, I can move out. Similarly, for Leicester, I can go with a 4 week target and then move out. Newcastle, Nottingham also has a very similar rate. Now, the problem is the reverse part, right? You are selling your players from Liverpool, right? You are selling your players from City, you are selling your players from Arsenal. Primarily, it's, I think, Liverpool, Arsenal, and some United, players being sold, right? Now, the challenge is how will you get all these premium guys back into your team without a wild card, right? And that for me is the biggest challenge because when you sell away a Trent and a Salah, right, the world opens up for you FPL wise, and you can do n number of things, right, and you can create a very beautiful balanced squad where you will have a lot of worries about whom to play. But when you want to assimilate that cost, that money back, and get the likes of Salah back, the Trent back, especially if they get into a form, that's when you'll face a lot of challenge, right? So now that you look at these blanks and now that you look at these kind of swings, right, what are your thoughts?
So for me, see, I get your concern. I mean, I get your point. Transitioning out of these premiums and reassembling back without a wildcard is going to be a tedious task. That's for sure. But on the flip side, if you see, at least for the limited data that we have for the first 6 game weeks, Haaland has become an almost a perma captain kind of a material. He is the Salah that we saw in the previous seasons. Where we can trust someone week in week out, give him the armband, and you have the rest of the squad to make up to whatever it can. So given that kind of a scenario, I know City don't have an ideal set of fixtures. They have a mix of Man United, they have Liverpool, they have a blank in 12 and all that. But having said that, if you're how many times you're going to move your captaincy out of Haaland, to someone like Salah. Salah's form is another concern. Liverpool's performance on the whole is a different talking point altogether. But my point being, it is one in a million times opportunity where you can move out of Salah at least for a few weeks. There could be ways where you can get him back. The likes of, if you're as Aditya mentioned, if you're shipping out Salah, you'd be looking someone equally premium like a KDB, where it gives an easy option to swap him back as well. Let's say KDB you want to try for 3 or 4 weeks, and once they have the blank, you can flip him back to someone like Salah if you want for that particular run until the international break or the World Cup break. So yes, there is a transition in terms of 8 to 12 and 13 to 16 when we see the fixtures in a set of block. But at the same time, it gives us an opportunity to try and explore a different set of players. Probably a very rare case of moving out of Salah. That's what I would feel.
But do you need a wild card to do that? I mean, the idea is, getting back these players require a wild card, right? Moving out does not necessarily require a wild card, right? Maybe a -4
No,
now, maybe a -4 next week, right? Can you think of a situation where you do it without a wild card and maybe, use a wild card only just to get them back?
no, not necessarily, right? That's what I'm suggesting. So moving out is going to be like super easy. Let's say Salah to KDB as an example. It's going to be the same way. You hardly need another transfer. Let's say you have two accumulated transfer in a particular week. Let's say you want Salah back in game week 12 when City have a blank. So if you just have two free transfers going into that week, it's going to be really simple. KDB plus one of the other players so that you can get Salah back easily. That's one of an example. But it's not necessary that you need a wild card to just get someone like Salah in, or let's say a combo of Salah and Trent. Let's say if you have a placeholder like Cancelo and placeholder like KDB, similar price packet players. If we have that sort of a thing, we can probably play around with two free transfer plus a hit or one transfer plus a hit. You can play multiple ways. So it is not necessary that you need a wild card for that. But it again, if you are spreading it out, into different forms of 8 million midfielders, let's say, as you told, by the looks of it, it will look really good. You have multiple options, as you told. You might have benching headaches, whom to start and whom to bench, and all that. In that scenario, yes, your point makes complete sense. It'll be tedious process to reassemble getting Salah back or Trent back. But if you are redistributing the funds to another equal premium option, then it's going to be easy.
Correct. Makes sense. Aditya, what are your thoughts? Looking at purely at a game week 8 to 16 fixture, right? Any teams that you really are attracted towards?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can see the fixtures week itself. I mean, people are running after Fulham players, especially Mitrovic, Burnley also. People are not talking about maybe as a 4.5 million goalkeeper, and then obviously the Newcastle players are getting a lot of love, with especially Trippier and
Hope.
Pope, and then now it is Isaac, and then it could be Saint Max, who's apparently not fit to play this weekend again. So we'll see. So
Yeah.
again, those are prominently the teams we see more or less light. But even if you look at game week 9, we have Palace and Leicester who have a better run of games who start. So we'll move on to the next slide also, because
Yeah.
that for game week 9 wildcard people, the bunch of managers, they will start loading up on Zaha, Mitchell, Gaita, Olise, Eze, all those set of players here and there. So it is more or less when you time your wildcard who you want to get in, but with the bigger picture around Salah, Trent, and all those big players, it's about how you build your squad and how much of funds you keep in the bank. That is more important. So if you get somebody like KDB for Salah, obviously logically Salah is 12.9, KDB is 12.2. You might roughly need around 1 million for that in case KDB drops in price, Salah goes up back. So keep that again. And then the same with Trent. If you have Reece James or Cancelo, those are probably the closest upgrades to them. But will you love to remove them out for Trent, or you would remove somebody like Trippier for Trent again after the fixture swing happens for Newcastle? So there's one thing there. So it's how you structure your squad. And yes, we always say it's obviously ideal to evenly distribute your funds everywhere. But in this case, you're always having that thought inside your head, right? If Liverpool come back to form, how am I going to get all of these two players back and all those things? So you need to keep those funds with you, and you need to keep one, two players who go off immediately if you want to get them back. So that's how it's going to work. I mean,
One thing that I really liked, one thing that I really liked looking at the ticker is suddenly you see Chelsea on the third spot, right? When we look at game week 8, your top five fixture wise, teams are not the best teams, right? So you are just looking at punts, purely from a fixture point of view. But when we move to a game week 9 wildcard, you have the likes of Chelsea and Newcastle in the top five, right? And even United is very close. You can see, sixth or seventh, right? So very close there. So you can now start punting into better teams, perhaps, when you look at a game week 9 wildcard over a game week 8 wildcard, right? And now that we know that we have an international break, Potter, gets more time with his players. Maybe Chelsea will look far better than they have looked so far.
Yes, I mean that obviously the international break gives us the leverage of thinking more. We have more time and more data, injury updates, managers going in and out if such situation happens. So yeah, that's also going to play a key role. And there was something which I was going to say, which just completely
Sorry.
went off. I don't know what I was going to say.
And considering we have United fans in the group here, right? So now that you're going game week 9, right? And you have United there in this, seventh or the eighth spot, right? And just take out that City fixture and you have a good run of fixtures post that, right? Are you looking at anyone, particular to put into your wildcard drafts?
Uh, can we move on to the next segment and we'll start covering up teams a
Sure,
bit
sure.
because it start looking disjointed. So we'll go on to the next one. That is obviously the players to target. I think we'll cover more in depth. So these are the goalkeepers, obviously, the players that are being bought in by a lot. Nick Pope is has won that race very easily. Because everybody's going the Pope way, and Leno, Henderson, and all are the lower budget options. Obviously, Raya and all. There are a couple of other options here and then, like Sa.
Yeah. Fixture wise, I think Leno and Henderson have a good shout, at least for your those 8 to 12, right? If you want to target 8 to 12, both of these are 4.5, 4.7 guys, and they are very good fixtures.
So Begovic is basically for Pickford. I think he's out for a month or so, and he's 4 million goalkeeper who will play. And Everton, yeah, they can put up a fight and defend. So it's just that case. I think Gaita Begovic pair also, I think, is starting to being spoken a lot. I think Palace's run of fixtures from 9 improves a lot, and defensively they've been playing well under uh, Vieira. So I think that's why I took
So
Gaita there. These are the couple of other players.
The interesting fact about Nick Pope is though, I'm sure you guys might have seen this already. In terms of the last 6 game weeks, they are the worst team to concede most shots on target, and Nick Pope somehow has come out emerged successfully with more fantasy points because of the enormous amount of saves that he has made. He is top for saves in the last 6 game weeks with 28 saves. That somehow is working in his favor. So that's a little bit of caveat. I know most of us have one Newcastle defender already. We might be looking at the likes of Nick Pope, but this is a small bit of caveat that you should always have in the back of the mind. They are equally bad. They're probably fifth or sixth bad for the big chances conceded, which is 13 in total. So that's a little caveat I wanted to put here.
so yeah, so it makes sense when you look at the fixtures were difficult for Newcastle. Early on they faced Liverpool, they faced Manchester City. Now the fixtures get easier, right? So Nick Pope will not get the number of saves that he's getting, right?
True.
So you have that clean sheet as an attraction, but at the same time, that bonus thing might go away, right?
Yeah,
Which is actually luring us into him now. What will be
true.
his ownership? You guys, what do you think? Looking at the way things are going by game week 9, how much do you expect?
Mm, Probably somewhere around 20. I don't think it's going to be, explosive beyond that, given that we have more number of options as well. He's 5.1, so people still want to spend the funds elsewhere, probably, go a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
The
The
thing is that if Pope's price goes up to 5.2, 5.3, Ederson is just 5.5, right?
Exactly the point.
So you'll rather go with Ederson, someone who's Mr. Reliable from Man City, will play the bulk of games, will not get rotated hopefully, but we don't know Pep, but he plays for City, so that's one assurance you have. So again, you
And
need to
also
be
Laporte is back, so
yes.
that's an added advantage for City's defense.
Stones is playing, Laporte is back. City defensive options have come up. The interesting thing about the goalkeeper slot is we still don't have a one primary winner so far. By last year we had Ramsdale. By the year before we had Emi
We have
Martinez.
Danny Ward. Sankalp, what are you talking?
See, Danny Ward is one of the top players for the price. He's the
True,
Yeah.
true.
emergency two-pointer. You should be
So,
very happy we are at least getting an odd game. He'll keep a clean sheet. He'll do what he has to do. So I think you should not expect anything.
and the
Which odd
comments
game?
also is good. Brendan Rodgers' comments have also been good and bringing some confidence into the player probably. So he is told that the clean sheet would come. He's a top goalkeeper and stuff. So yeah, that's a good thing.
Even
Yeah, I was just
I, I've I've read somewhere that Iverson might leave and all something. So I don't know if that might happen. So there was
I've
some
seen
rumors that
people taking Iverson on their wildcard. I don't know what you're going to make out with point one. Just have what there, irrespective of what it is.
So
You're not going to.
it's just how poor Ward is, right? So they are confident that at some point of time he's going to get dropped, and at least I have the backup keeper who's going to play.
This is
this
this is 8D
that is
chess move kind of a thing.
So what I really liked is you have Ward with 26% ownership. You have Sanchez with 17%, Ederson with 16.7, Pope with 15%, Allison with 14%, and Mendy with 14%. So there's just no clear winner in this, area bracket
True.
so far. Right. So at some point of time, this is going to change. And I feel this wild card, you might see all these, people who are selling, at least the Allison sellers, right? They will sell him for sure. The Sanchez sellers, right? This money will start getting into Pope. So somehow I have a feeling that he'll become this season's, Ramsdale or Emi Martinez. It might not be results wise, but ownership wise, I think it'll start moving into 30%, 40%. Because I remember Ramsdale at some point of time was close to 40% last year, right? Around this period of time, around game week 8, 9. Right. So this will be interesting to see everyone on Pope.
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of other goalkeepers at 4.9 now. It's De Gea from United. Mendy is also 4.9. Alisson has dropped to 5.4. And Amy Martinez is also, I think, has dropped to 4.9 or somewhere. So
He's also
again,
injured as well, Martinez.
yeah, he's ill. He's ill. But I mean, I'm seeing the price, some of the good
Yeah,
goalkeepers
yeah,
like Mendy could play well under Potter. You don't know if Kepa might also get a chance. So you have all
Yeah.
those other things here and there. So you might end up getting a better goalkeeper from a better team rather than going for Nick Pope, who's more popular now because of the saves he has made. It's the same trend over the last few years. The teams that concede more shots have the best goalkeepers to get more points, obviously because they save the bonus and all those things. That's how it works. So goalkeepers done and dusted. Let's go to defenders. I mean, again the same train here again, the same set of players with the same set of teams. So Trippier, Botman, Cancelo, Chelsea defenders, you just categorize right them from the best till the other options. Perisic also is a good shout. I think after game week 10 or so, their fixtures 11, 12 starts getting better. But the one thing is that the rotation is obviously an issue. Then we have from West Ham, we have Emerson, but Cresswell might be back. So that is a doubt there whether Emerson keeps his place or not. So Sufal might end up getting more chances as a right back. And Cresswell is also 4.8. Obviously, Neko Williams, the next couple of games look good, and then the Crystal Palace defenders as the fixtures improve. So, any other players you guys would like to add here or talk about?
Uh, I am really interested to see who can be the other Newcastle defender that we can go for apart from Target, right? So we have Botman here. So Target is now back, right, and is a good attacking fullback as well, someone to look at. You have Botman coming in with Burn is also there, right? So they have good players, good defenders, and good height guys, right? Center backs. So while Botman makes sense, you can go with someone like Burn at 4.5, Target is at 4.9, Scar is at 4.7, right? And
yeah,
these are all good options. So that's again, you have that Nick Pop alternative, right? So Nick Pop price will go to your 5.2, and if you need money, you can save 4, zero point 0.5, going with reliable options like Burn, Scar, and even Botman is at 4.4, right? A very good
yeah.
price to save on and use that money to get riders.
For me, the really interesting option is going to be Wesley Fofana. So I'm just waiting to see, how he is going to settle in. Probably if you're wildcarding, it's not going to harm your team in any way. 4.4, 4.5 million, probably by next week or two. So if he gets into regular minutes under Porter, 4.4 or 4.5 million defender from a Chelsea defense, under Porter, you can't ask for a better player or a better value from an FPL perspective. Even if he's going to get rotated a few games, still I would suggest that Fofana plus Reece James or Fofana plus someone else. If you're going on the Chelsea defense, that's going to be really interesting. Fofana is someone I'm really waiting to see, and see things how work and stuff. So that's one player I'm really interested in.
Interesting. 4.4, he's your Saliba replacement, right? So if you're on Saliba and you want to move out of Arsenal defense like everyone else, makes all the sense. Fofana is a good player. Given his
Yeah,
price, he's expected to start. And Potter does make your defense look better, right? At least
true.
at Brighton, they were, underperforming the stats given the quality that Chelsea has. You would expect them to start doing better in a week or two.
Yes. So I think we've covered defenders. Most of the talked about defenders. The same
Anyone
teams
on
here.
Emerson? Anyone on Emerson? Because one interesting thing that I saw yesterday on, I think Blackbox it was, and they were looking at the XG conceded metric, right? West Ham is there in top five in the XG conceded, score table. But we have just not looked at them because they have always looked huffy puffy. But now we
Yeah,
have an option available. Emerson is there. I think it was what 4 million.
yeah.
Emerson
Emerson is
was good.
someone. Yeah, another player I'm interested in. I kind of put him in the draft as well, which we'll talk about in a little while. Emerson is really good option at 4 million. Emerson and Nico Williams. We have somewhat come a little bit off the big at the back kind of a thing theory. We are pushing our funds to the forwards where we have more options. So Nico Williams and Emerson kind of a combination gives you that little bit of cushion. Nico Williams, we almost know he's playing getting regular minutes. Top it up with Emerson, so we can have two good really options.
And do you feel Neko is now someone that can be dropped? I mean, he's not exactly reached the heights that we were expecting. I don't think we got any assist, maybe one so far.
But his attacking numbers are still looking good in terms of penalty area touches, in terms of attempts. If you look at the first 6 games, in terms of total attempts, he is number one. In terms of penalty area touches, he's probably number three. So his underlying numbers are still pretty good. So I won't move him off at 4 million. Is a good value.
Yeah, I
Makes
think
sense.
4 million defenders. Williams is it's a very obvious choice. I think just don't make the sideways move to Emerson. Doesn't make sense. So next we'll go on to midfielders, and this is the list here, and some of them are obvious names. Some of them are a little bit differentials we've included here and there. Some players you would like to consider down the line in 1 2 weeks, just an early shot because you need to build your team, keeping those in mind. So it's obviously KDB. Then we have Hyun-Min Son, who's not looking good. Kulusevski might have lost his place with Richarlison, or there's rotation there. Then Madison has a good run of games from game week 9 onwards. If not, you can get Harvey Barnes with 6.9, Madison is 7.9. Bowen is 8.1. Everybody's looking at Bowen just because of the fixtures. But West Ham, again, this season, they are like very inconsistent, right? So we don't know who to go for. So, okay, we find Bowen. Okay, yeah, so he looks good. Then we have.
It's purely to do with the fixtures, I believe. I think probably we'll pick
And
and
last
choose
season.
some of the interesting picks. Obviously, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne goes without a saying, but probably in the interest of time, let's pick and choose a couple of players who is interesting. For me, it is like I'm really surprised with the number of transfers for Bowen. Given his form and underlying numbers, it's purely to do with last season. Bias or whatever you can call, or the fixtures, probably lack of players availability. We have limited number of players to select from. That's one player I'm really surprised more people are going buying in. One player I'm really interested in is Anthony Gordon. So this might be a little surprising coming from me. People who know me, I've really not recommended Anthony Gordon as a FPL player in the past, but I would like to change that stance. FPL is something where you have to adapt and change the way you think, with the way you look at players and stuff. So these two are players who are standing out. Where Gerard Bowen is transferred in bulk, whereas
104K.
Anthony
Oh. That's a nice stat. 0 goals, 0 assists, 1 shot on target so far for Bowen. And he
Exactly.
has 104K transfers.
That's mind-boggling for me. Whereas Anthony Gordon for 5.5, you can obviously get in someone like him. He's pretty much playing, a more attacking role, and fixtures are
So
looking good.
The
Recent
only
set of numbers.
difference, the only difference, I was looking at Gordon really closely. I was thinking, I might jump in there. He's there fourth on the list, so people are going there. The only difference is he was playing as a forward, for the last 4 weeks, and now we have Mope coming and taking that slot, and I think DCL is almost ready as well to come back, right? So you might see him change his role. He'll no longer be that closer to the goal. He'll be, focusing a lot more on creating, but you have a fit DCL and a Mope, taking those crosses, taking those passes. So at his price, it makes sense, if you're looking to downgrade a Martinelli or still looking for a Bailey or or a Neto replacement. A strong punt, fixtures are there for the taking. The guys on form, he'll find his way to get some points.
Yes, so I think I was going through Bowen, and then we had a brief conversation here. So the
Raheem
next
Sterling.
player is Raheem Sterling. Is, yeah, that's the sort of trademark move to Salah back, right? KDB, Sterling, Salah. That is what is going on over the last few days. I will get Sterling for Villa again, then I'll ship out Sterling to Salah. So that's the train going on at this point.
So the
And
problem with anyone, non-city asset is whoever you take, you need to stick to him for 3, 4 weeks so that you get his points, right? Someone like Sterling, I moved from Salah to Sterling last week. It looked like a good fixture where he'll get some points. No, right? And he scored in the Champions League fixture, and you might get another blank when they play the next, right? So someone like Sterling, I don't think that team is so settled attacking wise, Chelsea, to give you regular points, right? Even the fact that he's at a premium of 10 million, 10 or 9.9, whatever is the price, it does not still give you guaranteed consistent returns, right? If you're going there, wherever you're going, you need to sit down a bit, for the 2, 3 weeks. And I think Sterling has Crystal Palace away, again, not an easy fixture in game week 9. Then he has Wolves at home, Aston Villa away. This is a three week punt that I would take, and I would see okay how things are, and at the same time you will keep on evaluating players like Bruno, Sancho, right, and see if I want to jump off, where do I jump off. But if you're taking them, stick for those 2, 3 weeks. It's the same with Jaha. I know he's on form, but I know if I take him, I just don't know whether he gives us returns, right? Very difficult to, once you go off Salah, you just don't know whether these people will still keep on giving you returns. That you have to understand that you have to hope a bit as well.
mm, yes, that's the issue, right? It's been set in our minds that Salah is Mr. Consistent, and this season, unfortunately, things are not going according to the script with Liverpool. Trent, Salah, Luis Diaz, Nunez, who joined recently, not been up to the mark, and Robertson also. So people, I think, kind of lost patience there and like, okay, who should I get in now? This fixture looks nice, right? Fixture run looks good. Well, I'm going to get these players. Then that's the thing that is happening now. If Liverpool were playing well, and if the blank was there, as in the people would have kept Salah and Trent on their bench, even if with a wild card. So things would have been different. We have done that in the past over the last 2, 3 seasons or so. So the thinking
Correct.
has changed just solely because of the form. That's playing a very important part here. So the remaining other players from City, obviously, were Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva looks well again this season. I think finally City have found their front six properly with KDB, Rodri, Gundogan, Bernardo, Haaland, and Foden. So I think that's kind of the
I,
set.
I'm looking very closely at Bernardo. I might get him from Gross, move from Gross, right? And one interesting thing is, I always thought Bernardo is a guy who will not play a lot. But I saw last match he played 70 minutes against Villa, and the 3 matches prior to that he played all entire 90 minutes. It blew my mind, and I was like, okay, he seems to be consistent, and he's not starting in the Champions League matches either.
And there is one other interesting thing with Silva is that he plays United next game. He always does well against
He's
us.
going to
You know,
side net scoring.
exact the
Bottom
finding
row.
those pockets of spaces. Silva does that incredibly well against us, and it's going to be a crucial play for City next game. So from that perspective as well, Silva makes complete sense.
Yeah, Bernardo Silva always reminds me of what Juan Mata was few seasons back. How well he finds those
Absolutely.
pocket of spaces. He makes those drifting runs. He'll be behind, creating, open up space. Great player. Enough of wowing Man City players. Now then we have Leon Bailey in the list. I think he's probably all of the managers who got him at 5, like me, who shipped him out for Aronson few weeks back. He scores a goal. Now we might wildcard. We might ship out Aronson back for Bailey. How things have turned over the last few weeks is just going south. Then we have Lingard. Lingard is is at 5.7, I think, and it's just solely because of Forest's next couple of games look good, and it's a punt basically. That's what we are looking over the next few
Yeah,
weeks.
but a very risky punt, I would say.
That's a risky punt. Then the last three players we mentioned is obviously United, and after the City game, United players, somebody
And
can keep an eye
just
on.
so we are talking about United, Jadon Sancho has scored on the ongoing Europa League fixture. So
Yeah,
just to
so
add the Jadon Sancho appeal for next week onwards.
Bowen to Sancho is locked for many of them in the next few weeks, so that they can get Trent from Trippier. So all those moves here and there, we're done with
I
midfield
can't,
ones.
I can't, I can't believe people are booking transfers for a Manchester United player in FPL.
Things have
Never
been
say never.
So
Never
this
say never,
season has
right?
been.
yeah,
Two
yeah.
good matches and two good matches against Liverpool and Arsenal. I think it makes sense, right? Rashford is second in the points list now for midfielders.
And no one would have thought this at the beginning of the season. I
I
definitely
thought,
didn't.
I thought, and I transferred him out for Martinelli in game week 3. Look what I did.
Good move.
Good move. I should have had more patience. That's the thing, right? The
So
True,
game
true.
is
Yeah.
so, how to say, fast pacing. Things change dramatically, and form is like
yeah,
once you score, it just clicks and it goes on. That's how football is, and we need patience with many players, especially with Mo
True.
Salah and all. He just needs one game. Liverpool need obviously had that 9-0 game, but things are not going well. We'll go to forwards here. Obviously, the top three on this list is just the front three of Wildcard.
Yeah, I think we don't even need to speak on the front three. Haaland, Kane, and Mitrovic. I think it goes without us saying, I believe.
So we
anyone
have
anyone going Kane? I'm again looking at Darwin cell, and Kane is someone that I'm looking at purely from a fixture point of view, right? Leicester at
So
home looks like a very captainable fixture, right? And Haaland goes Wolves away. I know it's not captaining Haaland is feels like a big sin now. It's like Salah of last season. But that fixture really appeals me. You know that Kane will do something, and this is at home and post a poor match at Champions League, right? So Conte will be on them, right? And that's one of the major reasons that I see a lot of people thinking about Sun as well, right? They are not on form. But at the same time, you have this feeling, right? It's like Liverpool 9-0, Bournemouth, right? Leicester will concede 3 goals. And Son, if has a goal and assist, it's just a double point, double digit.
yes, another player we have from Spurs is Richarlison, who has looked kind of well in spells for Spurs, and obviously he also scored, I think, a brace against Marseille in the previous Champions League game, not
yeah,
the one which happened now. And I think with Kulusevski, we don't know the rotation there and then. So if Richarlison keeps up his place, he might be an alternative to Kane, but we can't expect those bulk of points what Kane might give you. So again, that's the thing. Then we have obviously Newcastle's Alexander Isak or Isak, hopefully I pronounce it properly. And Wilson might be back post the international break. I think that's one thing to keep an eye. Watkins is there, but Watkins is ill, is what we've got the news from the press conference update. So he might play or he may not play. That's what. And then we have Che Adams and Solanke, whose games get better post game week 9 onwards. So these are probably
yeah.
the.
Solanke is someone, at least from what I have listened to, a couple of Bournemouth fans, and other forums that I've read across. Solanke is someone who would be an interesting option in a couple of weeks' time. Probably if we see a little bit more from him. I think he's going to be a really good option. All
Okay,
right.
so I think
We'll move on from forwards, or is there anyone else you want to speak?
we're done with forwards. We've covered most of the players. I don't think you missed out. I think there was Gabriel Jesus there just on that list. So that is more or less a hold for this week if you're not wildcarding and then you assess. But he's someone people will circle back later. That's going to happen,
Sure.
obviously. So these are the couple of questions we got from Instagram. We'll cover these. We'll also answer questions to those who are watching this live. Please drop your questions in the chat and we'll cover them as well. So the first one is an optimistic fan says, I think Trent and Salah will regain form. I think they will. That they will, but only time will tell. That's what we all can say
Yeah,
at
I
this
think
stage.
one factor what makes that people to think that is probably Thiago's return. So that. This is something I touched upon in the previous pod that we did as well. But Thiago getting back is going to help them definitely. Both attack as well as defense. So hopefully, let's see.
And just want to add, I was looking at Trent's number from last season. Last season, second half, he had 4 assists. Entire from game week 19 to 38, he had 4 assists. And this season, I think it's 1 or 0, right? So
Zero assist,
it's
just
like
one goal.
0 assists. So 25 matches and you just have 4 assists, right? I think at some point of time we just have to accept, this is how it is, right? And I it seems if you have to move out of one person, yeah, Trent and Salah, I would still move out of Trent because I don't see him as dangerous now. If Salah still remains close, he's still giving you points, right? It just feels that it's not enough points for a captaincy, and which makes sense. But he's still giving us points, right? Wherever you move from Salah, it will still be players who will not be as consistent, right? But Trent, you can replace with stronger assets, right? From 7 million, you come down to a Trippier, you come down to Pope, you come down to Reece James, right? We see or a Cancelo, right? You see a lot of assets now available who are giving you consistent points. So we might see someone regain form, but if you have to sell one, I think it's more sell Trent rather than sell Salah.
Also, speaking on this lines, there's one more thing which probably I almost forgot to mention. So this Robertson injury update, that's something to watch out. Probably if that is at the bare minimum 2 to 3 weeks at least, then Simicast would be a really good option. Someone who wants to explore in the wild card, probably you just get him, put him on the bench and see it out from next week. So that is also an interesting option. Or you can downgrade from Trent to Simicast as well. Going forward, if Robertson injury is something serious, that would be
Just cover
smart. But
Liverpool defense.
yeah,
I think Robertson will be back post the international break again.
That's what Klopp said.
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I think
Just something to watch
considering
out in case
yeah,
if
I think he will play. He'll be back, so that's not a problem. Robertson has never been like injured very for a long spell.
Yeah.
Only we had once that happened last season at the start where Simicast hauled. Luckily for us at this point, but Robertson was back. So that was one thing. And the next question here is, I think, will Emerson start or Sufal is a safe pick? So I think yeah, we have a doubt there. I think Cresswell might be back is what we're looking at this point. So he might come and take his place, right? So I think Sufal might end up being the better pick.
Yes, safer pick for sure. So far is the safer pick. But a lot of West Ham, fan base, they keep saying that Cresswell has lost his form. Emerson looks far more attacking, and Moyes is looking to rejig the squad. So if you're taking a 4 million player, there will always be a risk, right? That's something that we have to move with. Even for Neco Williams, by the way, today Nottingham Forest announced that they have signed another player. I think the 500 first player, but it's Serge Aurier from your ex Spurs player who's come back,
Hmm.
and he's going to attack Neco Williams for his position now. So no 4 million defensive, defender position is going to be completely safe. There is always going to be an element of risk. Emerson feels a good punt, but it is always going to be a punt.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think there
I
is.
would concur with the same. Amazon is a better pick for that price. If you are considering Sufal, I would say for the same price probably go for someone like Fofana if he's going to get minutes from next week onwards. better team, better defense.
Yeah, so the 4 million defenders are more or less obviously for the price you're paying, you're taking the risk. I think there's Patterson who's 4.1 now. So I think I don't know whether he might keep up his place. So we will see on that. So the next question is take a -8 or take a -8 to get the team I want or wild card. Well, that's again it's a very team dependent question, right? So that's what we've been seeing. So if you're able to field in 10 players with a -4, just I think obviously people are going to transfer Trent and Salah, and you're going to get those two key players back in your for this week with KDB and all. So if you are able to do that, I think you can get away without wildcard is what I'm thinking. But if not,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'll put it this way. If you're planning to wildcard next week itself, it doesn't make sense to, take a -8. Probably a -4, probably, yes. But -8 is a bit of a stretch where you can cover, this week and, a medium to long term as well with the wildcard this week. So that would be my perspective.
Yeah. So if you're wildcarding in game week 13, I think -8 makes sense. If you're wildcarding in game week 9, why do it, right? Do it now, put your wildcard now and make the same team.
so there's another question, couple of two questions here. Apart from Trippier, who is more nailed defender from Newcastle, I think we did say that it's Fabian Scher, Dan Burn, Sven Botman, and I think Matt Target is back. So these are the names. I think Botman, Scher, and these are the two best I would say. Then Burn, and obviously Trippier is the best option there. So that's done. Chelsea backline, we did speak briefly. Obviously, Reece James is the ideal player. Then you have Cucurella, who's reunited with Potter again. Chilwell also, we don't know what will happen there. Fofana, Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, Aspilicueta here and there. But I think James and Cucurella might be the two players at this point. I think this better to pick them and go ahead. So I think that definitely covers the Q&A section unless we have some other
YouTube
questions.
questions?
Yeah, that's what I'm just checking here. We've not got anything new here. Uh, so here's this one which I'm going to pin here. I have two free transfers planning to do Salah, Jesus and Cross for a hit to KDB Mitrovic, Madison or Kulisevsky. Or should I only do Salah, Gross, no hit to KDB Madison? I think the
So
second one makes sense.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I,
this
I
is
would I would opt the first one. Uh, you know, like to like replacement for someone like Salah, and it's just for a minus. If it is just for a -4, yeah. KDB, Metro, one of Madison or Kulu. I think all good options for this week, and you can, if you just in case if you have a little bit money left in the bank, if you want Salah straight back in, you can do that as well.
I would be like, Jesus is playing this week, right? Why move him out for a -1? That's the difference, right? I'm not sure that Mitrovic outscores him by 4 points, right? You might do it for a long-term point of view, right? Because you are fearing price rises, but price rises don't come into play during the international breaks, right? So you have that time. Either you do it next week or you do it a couple of weeks later, right? The only, I think, issue is they do have a good fixture this week, right? But 4 points seems like a lot for a Mitrovic.
Yeah, so I think if you obviously Jesus Mitrovic, I think it's doesn't make sense to do that sideways move with both of them playing the
Yeah,
game. So
probably, yeah.
rather ship out players who are blanking. That's our blank game. Sorry, not blanking. Okay, so I think we're done with most of the. I'm just going to scroll down here. Best Diaz replacement till game week 12, and yes, 0.7 in the pipe.
Uh, Madison for me.
Yeah, even I would say Madison. It- Though it is Arsenal, I think that makes sense. There's not much in that price segment that you can go.
Yes, I think I have kind of. I mean, I stick with the same answer. So then future you have
That
Sancho, other players and all here and there, so you can
Yeah,
just swap
you
out
have multiple options in Zaha. Many options
Zaha.
open
Yeah.
up.
So this is the next question: would you play Ward or bring in Pope for Sanchez for -8? I'll be taking -4. Begin Mitrovic, free transfers are out to KDB already have Trippier. Mm.
I'll
Again,
do
here
it.
I
Yes.
think
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
-8 is a bit of stretch. I
So
would rather play Ward, hope there is a bit of save points here and there, even if there is not a clean sheet.
so. This
so
is the follow up the same comment. He's concerned that Sanchez is playing Liverpool and he's already used his wild card, so that's why he's justifying to get in Pope. I think.
so for me,
Oh, okay. That's a.
does
Mhm.
does Pope outscore Ward by 4 points? Probably yes, right? They're playing Bournemouth. Probably yes, right? And it's a long-term move. This feels a bit closer to me than the Jesus Mitrovic thing. Uh, because I don't see them keeping a clean sheet away at Spurs for sure. I think it's a one-pointer. He'll concede more than 2 goals, right? So you're just playing around and hoping that Pope gets a clean sheet, and there's a good probability they do, right? So I would do this. I would be like, okay, you look at it purely from a 4 point pure, one move that you're looking at. Don't look at -8. Look at that -4 move. What to Pope for -4 makes sense. Just do that.
Yes, actually, we got one comment because of the background. There was a noise here. There was some disturbance from one of our ends here and there. So apologize. We're doing our best, but sometimes mics they pick up noise, even a feeble, faint noise. Also, this how mics are nowadays. So you have to be very, very extra careful. So there's one thing. This is the next question. This KDB and Lionel Bailey, KDB Bailey or Foden Bowen. Then what was I think the first one is straight away yes. Foden
Yeah,
Bowen, you don't know. Foden might be benched, Bowen might blank. So rather go with KDB. So that's the
true.
only thing.
Yeah.
This is another one here. When it comes to Wildcard, is KDB and Isaac or Kane and Foden? So let's see. Oh,
Oh, this
Tough
is
one.
good. This is going to this is a tough one. Yeah.
I think it's more or less KDB versus Kane. Who you want? So
Exactly.
If you feel Haaland will cover KDB's points, you get Kane. But if you go with Kane, if you want Salah back, that route you need to plan now only.
Yeah, yeah.
How you going to do it? So that
That
is
that's
where
that's the tricky thing. And also the other option is if you have both Haaland and KDB, you most probably going to end up captaining Haaland. You're not going to throw your armband on KDB. At least if you have Kane, you have that alternate option. Let's say for particularly this particular week, probably Leicester home, it's a much better fixture on paper for Kane. So that gives us an option. But as Aditya mentioned, switching back to someone like Salah would require a couple of moves. So you need to make sure to plan that. So it's between them. So who do you want? Based on that, you can pick the other one.
So for me, it's a short-term versus long-term thing. Well, like you said, if you ask me this question next week, I'll very happily say, KDB and Isaac, right? It's just that this week, Kane feels like that alternate differential captain move. Right? So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you captain Kane this week, right? Doing this, are you going to do that, right? If yes, then I think it makes sense. If you're not looking to captain Kane, then just take the long term, right? But for me, wildcard is always your 3 week, 4 week move, right? Don't look at purely this week, right? You might have Son scoring a brace and Kane doing just a couple of assists, right? And that KDB Haaland combination is looking just good, just looking better and better, right? So he might not give you a double digit, he might not give you a 15 pointer like Kane can do, but he can give you consistent 8 pointer, 10 pointer that no other player is looking to give other than Haaland, right? So long term for me looks like KDB is the solution, but if you're looking to captain someone other than Haaland, then you can do the Kane route. That's for my view.
so I think we're done answering most of the questions. We'll quickly run through our teams and our drafts. So this is Sankalp's first team as he spoke about. So these are his planned moves. Trent to Newcastle defender is going with double Newcastle defense, so that might end up being I think Botman or somebody else here and there. Obviously, he's mentioned Gross to Bernardo and he's doing Darwin to Kane. And with that, I think he might end up going captaining Kane. I know what Sankalp is going to do that. He's going to go Kane versus Leicester. So I think I have covered his part now only. He doesn't need to answer.
Yeah, it's done.
Done. So we'll go next to Suresh's bus team. And Suresh, are you going to flip a coin for wildcard or not?
No, I think I'm most likely going to stick with my two free transfer plus a hit. It's most likely going to be Greenwood out for Kane, Salah out for a budget midfielder, and I'm just thinking if it is going to be Trent or Cucurella to remove based on the budget. It'll be one of the two. So that's the plan currently. Probably the Walker news. If I get something on Walker, if he's going to be fit, probably if he's going to play anything of that sort, that'll put in a little more confidence of sticking with the plan and wildcarding next week.
I don't think Walker is playing. It's
I'm
post
just I'm
international.
just having my fingers crossed. He's been selected for the national team as well. So let's see.
Then he will withdraw. Come on, these players do it very easily. They go there and they come back also. So
True.
So this is his Suresh's wildcard draft. We've mostly covered all the players you can see up here. It's Pope, Ward, Reece James, Emerson, Neco Williams, Cancelo, Trippier. Kulu is a pick. I don't know whether he'll play or not. Pereira, Foden again is a question mark. Gordon, Martinelli, Kane, Mitrovic, Haaland. I think it's straightforward. We've covered this entirely over the last an hour or so. Next, we'll go on to my bus team here. This is mine
I
with
just wanted to add, sorry, someone here was asking about the free hit squad. Unfortunately, we have not made a free hit squad, but even if we make one, I think it will be very close to Suresh's wildcard draft.
yes.
Yeah.
So that So I will pin this question also and meanwhile answer in a few seconds. So this is my bus team at the moment. I have my plan is to transfer out Salah for KDB, Trent for Trippier, and do I think DS to Bowen or Madison. I have just put Bowen for now and keep the funds with me, and then I decide if I wildcard next week or pocket the wildcard also. So we don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. So that's my
So
bus team.
the only question to you guys, did this, discussion help you guys to decide a bit on your wildcard move?
I'm probably Sankalp. Yeah, he did. I would say I was already, as I told in the beginning of the pod, only probably 70-30%, 70% in terms of doing the free transfer plus hit and wildcarding next week. So I think I'm gonna retain because I don't want to rush into things and go ahead and wildcard in the last moment, probably tomorrow and stuff. But I'm hopefully would do good. Probably I'll get Salah with point 0.1 cheaper next week if at all that's the case.
Yeah, so in terms for me, I think I'm happy with just doing the free transfers here because then I can do Jesus to Isaac or Mitrovic also if I want next week just with one free transfer, then survive the shorter spell, then hit the wildcard at 13. So, I mean, more or less, see, this team is as good as wildcarding, just two, three players are missing.
True.
That with
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
transfer and a hit again, you can get away. And you can get
No, you
Zaha
have
and
the
all
star
also.
player Aditya. You have the star player of the wildcard Bowen. So,
No, I said Bowen or Madison. I'm not sure. That's
oh,
just a
okay.
placeholder for now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is my wildcard draft. It's very similar to what we've spoken. The same. Sorry, Pope, Williams, Trippier, Cancelo, Bailey, Bowen, De Bruyne, Martinelli, Mitrovic, Haaland, Isaac. Obviously, Emerson, Andres, and all the other players. Same. There was one question about somewhere about 4.5 million defender, the best or something. Yeah, differential defender at 4.5. So I think
Differential defender.
we did speak about Fofana, Botman. Then
Even a West
I
Ham
think
defender. Yeah.
yeah, you have Sufal at 4.4. Then I think you have someone. I checked the chat also and I checked the prices. James Justin is 4.3, but Leicester are awful defensively. And
Yeah.
my favorite defender that I was saying at the start of the season is Dalo. so so so
Yeah,
it
but
might be
not,
the
not
time.
this week and this week, next week, right?
Yeah,
Anyways, we don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
we don't have a
Yeah.
fixture.
So
Next
I'm
week it
going
is
I'm
City.
going to pin Surya's comment here because I think he won the penalty somewhere. I think did he win a penalty? What's the United score update? I don't have the game going on.
But I agree with Surya. I think it's a good pick, right at 4.5. You just picking. He's looking good attackingly. He's linking well with the attackers. I know with United fans, you have that thing that let's not go there, but they're looking good, right? So why not go there?
Yeah, so Varan and even I think Martinez also is 4.4. They've all dropped in prices. So you have Malasi also that side if he keeps up his place. So United defenders are there, but United fans will not, put out their names because they don't want to be too optimistic. That's the thing. I think there are another two questions and then we'll wrap it up very quickly. This is the same one. We are more or less short term is option one, long term is option two, is what we said
True.
in short.
Yeah.
And okay, this is one last one or the second last. So wild card can't decide. Sterling Saint Max switching game maker for Honor. Okay, Saint Max is not fit for
Is
this
Injured.
not
week.
available. Yeah, I was gonna say. Or Maxim. So I think you have to reconsider Maxim. You know, yeah,
Yeah,
Sterling.
so
No, I think you
so
have to entirely reconsider all the options.
yeah. Just fiddle around with the funds and see what you can do because one
Yeah,
player is out. Uh, if you had to, I think Kulu is someone who will keep it out because we're not sure whether he's lost his place to Richarlison or he's going to get rotated here
I
and there.
hope he plays. I still have
That's
him.
what- That's why. So,
If
uh,
you had to choose one, I think
Madison.
Madison. Yeah,
yeah,
easy. Madison is a easy pick here.
we are all on the medicine boat and you can save point 2 compared to Bowen. So, the Bowen is 8.1, right? If I checked,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
right.
Bowen is
Yeah, so
8.1.
one, yeah. So I think with that we have covered all the questions, the bulk of wildcard part, all the section, all the players here and there. Done our best to cover everything in about 67
Yeah,
odd minutes.
hopefully.
So hopefully things go well this week, and we'll see how things go. So that brings us to the end of episode 11 of the podcast or the stream. Those who are listening in us in audio platforms, Apple Podcast or Spotify, drop us a rating, review, feedback. It will always help us a lot. Those who are watching us on YouTube, please drop a like, drop a comment. Do subscribe and hit the bell icon. You'll be notified whenever we'll be streaming. And yeah, we will be back maybe post the international break, looking at how things go on, and maybe even see how things dramatically change for a game week 9 wildcard. Whether we still are talking about the same players or we're going to ship out the players we get in now. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah, that brings us to the end. Hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy your football. And yeah, we'll see you all post international break.
Best
Cheers,
wishes,
guys.
guys.
Bye.